All right, I want to start today with a bit of a visual puzzle for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
I want you to close your eyes for just a second and picture three very specific, very vivid things.
Got it.
First, picture a flamingo. You know that brilliant, almost electric pink color of their feathers? Really see it?
Mm-hmm. Bright pink bird. It's almost unnatural looking.
It is, isn't it? Okay, second image. A beautiful slab of wild sockeye salmon.
Ah, the good stuff.
Not the farm stuff that looks kind of pale and sad, but that deep, rich, reddish-orange meat that looks like it's been fighting its way up a river for 1,000 miles.
Yeah, you can almost taste it.
And third, I want you to picture a lobster. Specifically, the shell of a cooked lobster. That bright, intense, almost fiery red.
Okay, so flamingo, salmon, lobster. This is a very colorful way to open the discussion. Makes me feel like I'm at a seafood buffet.
It does make you hungry, I know.
Yeah.
But the question for you and for everyone listening right now is actually pretty simple. What connects these three things? And before you say they're all animals or they live near water, I'm looking for something deeper, a chemical connection.
Right. And the answer, the thing that links all of them, lies in a single specific molecule.
Which is?
It's a pigment called astaxanthin.
Astaxanthin. It sounds like something from a sci-fi novel, the Astaxanthin Nebulae.
It really does.
But the reason we are doing a deep dive on this today isn't just because it makes flamingos pink. That color is, that's basically just a side effect, right?
Completely. The color is just what happens when the molecule absorbs certain wavelengths of light. It's a visual cue. But the function, the reason nature created it in the first place, is what makes this one of the most interesting compounds in all of biology.
Okay, so what is the function?
We are talking about what is arguably one of the most potent antioxidants in the natural world. But honestly, even just calling it an antioxidant feels like we're underselling it.
How so?
It's like calling a Ferrari a car. It's technically true, but it misses the entire point of what makes it special.
I definitely got that feeling reading through the stack for today. We have 3 massive reviews on the table spanning more than a decade of research.
A lot of work has gone into this.
And the terminology the researchers use, it goes way beyond vitamin. They use phrases like supernutrient and, my personal favorite, mitochondrial targeted antioxidant.
And that distinction, that mitochondrial targeted part, that is the linchpin of everything we're going to discuss today. It's really the difference between, say, a generic tool and a precision instrument.
And the stakes here are really high. We aren't just talking about taking a supplement to maybe fight off a cold or get slightly better skin, though we are actually going to talk about skin.
We are.
The research connects this one molecule to the fundamental drivers of aging, to how our brain generates new neurons, which is just huge, to how our muscles burn fat during a marathon, and even surprisingly, to fertility.
It really runs the gamut. And that's because of where this molecule goes in the body and what it does when it gets there.
Where does it go?
It operates at the most fundamental level, the cellular level, specifically within the cell membrane, in a way that most other nutrients and antioxidants just physically can't replicate. It essentially armor plates your cells from the inside out.
Armor plates. I like that. So here's our mission for this deep dive. We are going to unpack 3 dense scientific reviews. We have a foundational paper from 2011 by a researcher named Kidd that really sets the stage on the clinical benefits and the basic chemistry.
That's the one that lays it all out.
Then we have a 2019 deep dive by Strati and his colleagues that gets into metabolism and the engine room of the body.
The mitochondria, yeah.
And then we have this really cutting-edge 2023 paper by Medoro that gets into the brain, neurogenesis, and longevity.
The 2023 paper is particularly fascinating. It challenges some really long-held dogmas about whether the adult brain can actually heal and remodel itself.
I absolutely want to get to the brain stuff because it blew my mind, but we have to earn it. We have to understand what this stuff actually is first. Because I think most people, if they've even heard of it, they just lump it in with fish oil or some generic supplement on the shelf.
Right. So let's get technical for just a second. Chemically, astaxanthin is classified as a xanthophyll carotenoid.
A xanthophyll carotenoid. Okay, let's break that down. I know carotenoid sounds like carrot.
And that's exactly right. That's the perfect way to think about it. Think of the carotenoid family as a big, extended family of pigments.
Okay.
You have beta-carotene, which makes carrots orange. You have lycopene, which makes tomatoes red. Astaxanthin is kind of like the superpowered cousin in that
Well,
family.
cousin that humans can't make, right. This is crucial. We have zero ability to synthesize this ourselves. We can't just, think hard and make astaxanthin in our liver.
Zero ability, none whatsoever. We have to get it from our diet. And in the wild, the primary source, the very bottom of the food chain for this stuff, is a microalgae called Haematococcus pluvialis.
Which sounds like a spell from Harry Potter. Haematococcus pluvialis.
It does, doesn't it? But this algae produces astaxanthin as a survival mechanism. This is the really cool part.
A survival mechanism.
Yes. So imagine this tiny little algae living in a shallow pool of water. It's happy. Then suddenly the sun gets incredibly intense, or the water starts to dry up, or the nutrients disappear. The algae is under immense stress.
It's being attacked by its environment.
Exactly. It's extremely stressed.
Yeah.
So what does it do? It goes into lockdown. It pumps out this bright red pigment to coat itself.
Wow.
It literally encapsulates its own DNA and cellular machinery in this blanket of astaxanthin. It's protecting itself from UV radiation and from oxidation. It's basically algae sunscreen, but also a kind of survival pod.
That is fascinating. So it creates this biological shield to survive harsh conditions.
In a functional sense, yes.
Yeah.
And it can stay dormant in that state for years. Then the krill come along and eat the algae.
And they turn pink.
They turn pink. Then the salmon eat the krill, the flamingos eat the shrimp, and the pigment moves up the food chain, concentrating as it goes. That's why wild salmon have that vibrant color. They are packed with this stuff because they've eaten the things that ate the algae.
It's the whole circle of life, but pink.
Pretty much.
Now, before we get into the mechanics of how it works in our bodies, I noticed the research makes a massive, massive distinction between natural astaxanthin and synthetic versions.
Yes, this is a vital distinction for the listener.
Because I've seen this stuff on shelves, and sometimes it's very cheap, and other times it's pretty pricey.
Right. And there's a reason for that. Most of the papers we're looking at today, especially that foundational work by Kidd, they emphasize that synthetic astaxanthin, which is often made from petrochemicals, by the way.
From oil.
From petrochemical derivatives, yes.
Yeah.
It has a completely different molecular profile. It's what we call a mix of isomers.
Isomers. That means the shape of the molecule is twisted differently, like a left-handed glove versus a right-handed one.
That's a perfect analogy. In biology, shape is absolutely everything. It's a lock and key system. If you have a key that is made of the same metal, but it's the wrong shape, it's not going to open the door.
So the synthetic keys don't quite fit the biological locks in our body the same way the natural form does.
Not at all. They have different properties, and some research suggests they may not have the same benefits or could even have different unintended effects. So for the purpose of this deep dive, whenever we say astaxanthin, we are exclusively talking about the natural form derived from that microalgae.
Got it. Okay, so we know what it is. It's a survival shield made by algae. Now we have to get into the physics of it.
Yeah.
This is section 1 of our analysis, what I'm calling the lightning rod.
I like it.
This part of the reading was where I finally understood why this isn't just another vitamin C. It's a totally different class of operator.
This is my favorite part of the biochemistry because it explains everything else. I mean, if you understand this one concept, you understand why it works for the brain and the skin and the muscles. It all stems from this.
So let's look at where antioxidants usually hang out in the cell. Most of them, like vitamin C or vitamin E, they have a specific territory, right? They stay in their lane.
They do. Vitamin C, for example, is water-soluble, so it floats around outside the cell or in the cytoplasm, which is the watery interior of the cell.
So it's like a patrol guard in the hallways.
A great way to put it. It's in the hallways, but it can't get into the offices. It can't get into the fatty cell membrane because, oil and water don't mix.
Okay, so vitamin C is strictly hallway patrol. What about vitamin E?
Vitamin E is the opposite. It's fat-soluble, so it can get into the cell membrane, which is made of lipids or fats.
So it's inside the office?
It is, but, and this is a really big but, it kind of just bobbles around near the surface. It doesn't go deep into the membrane. It's like a guard who just stands inside the doorway but never walks through the room.
Okay, so it has limited reach, but astaxanthin is different. The papers describe it as having transmembrane orientation, and that sounds like a serious upgrade.
That is the superpower. That is the whole ballgame. Transmembrane means it goes all the way through from one side to the other.
Help us visualize this. I loved the analogy we briefly touched on earlier, but let's really paint the picture for everyone.
Okay. Imagine your cell membrane is a sandwich, like a peanut butter sandwich.
Okay, I can do that.
You have a slice of bread on the top, which represents the watery environment outside the cell. And you have a slice of bread on the bottom, which is the watery environment inside the cell.
Got it. 2 slices of bread.
In the middle, you have a thick layer of oily filling the peanut butter. That oily, fatty layer is the barrier that keeps the outside out and the inside in. It's what gives the cell its integrity.
Right, the lipid bilayer.
Exactly. Now, astaxanthin is like a long, thin toothpick that you stick straight down through the top slice of bread, all the way through the oily peanut butter, and out through the bottom slice of bread.
So it spans the entire width of the sandwich.
The entire width. It physically connects the inside and the outside.
And looking at the chemical structure described in the kid review, that explains why. It has these polar heads on both ends and a non-polar middle.
That's the architecture. So the polar heads are hydrophilic. They love water. So they happily lock into the watery bread of the sandwich on both sides. They anchor it in place.
Okay.
The middle section, the long part, is hydrophobic. It hates water, loves oil. So it hangs out perfectly and stably in the oily peanut butter filling.
So it's not just floating around, it's physically stapling the cell membrane together. It's acting like a structural rivet.
It's absolutely providing structural integrity, yes. It makes the membrane more rigid, but in a good way, more resilient to stress. But here's where that lightning rod analogy you mentioned comes in.
Okay.
The middle of that astaxanthin molecule, the long part inside the oil, is what's called a polyene chain. It has a series of what we call conjugated double bonds.
Which means what exactly in plain English for us?
Think of it as a perfect copper wire. It's an electrical superhighway for electrons.
Okay, a wire running through the membrane.
Exactly. So when a free radical, which is basically a rogue, high-energy molecule that wants to smash into things and steal electrons, causing damage.
It's cellular vandal.
A cellular vandal, yes. When that vandal hits the membrane, astaxanthin can absorb that high-energy electron from the free radical.
Like a lightning rod taking a direct strike to save the house.
Precisely. It absorbs the hit, and then it passes that dangerous electron along its polyene chain, its wire, conducting it out of the sensitive, oily center of the membrane to the surface.
And then what?
And at the surface, something water-soluble like vitamin C can come along and safely neutralize it, carting it away without any damage being done to the core of the membrane.
That is fascinating. So it doesn't just block the damage like a shield. It actively catches the danger and escorts it out of the building?
And this is the really key difference. It does this without being destroyed itself. That's what makes it so potent.
What do you mean?
Well, many antioxidants, once they neutralize a free radical, they themselves become unstable. They can actually become pro-oxidants. They become part of the problem because now they're unbalanced and looking to steal an electron.
So the hero becomes a villain?
In a sense, yes. But astaxanthin is incredibly stable. It can handle a massive load of free radicals, thousands of them, without ever turning into a bad guy itself. It can dissipate the energy.
There was a study mentioned in that 2011 kid review, the McNulty study, that really drove this home for me. It felt like the big aha moment of the paper.
Oh, the McNulty study is a classic in this field. It's a really elegant experiment.
What did they do?
They essentially built model cell membranes in a lab, in a test tube. Liposomes, they're called. They wanted to simulate a high-stress environment, specifically what's called lipid peroxidation.
Lipid peroxidation is basically when the fats in your cell membranes go rancid, right? It's like biological rusting.
Exactly. It's the cell membrane literally rusting from the inside out. It's a major driver of cellular aging and dysfunction. So they took these model membranes and they hit them with a ton of oxidative stress.
And they wanted to see which carotenoid protected the membrane best. They tested beta-carotene, lycopene, and astaxanthin.
Right. And this is where it gets really surprising because we're always told beta-carotene is good for us. You know, eat your carrots. But what happened in this high-stress artificial environment?
It was not good.
It actually made things worse. Under high oxidative stress, the beta-carotene and the lycopene physically disrupted the packing of the membrane. Because they don't span the membrane, they just sort of wedge themselves inside it. They messed up the structure.
So they got in the way.
They got in the way. It's like throwing a wrench into a set of perfectly aligned gears. They actually increased peroxidation in that model. They made the membrane more vulnerable.
Yikes. So under extreme stress, the very thing you took to protect you is actually destabilizing your cells because it's cluttering up the membrane architecture.
In that specific in vitro model, yes, it disordered the membrane. But astaxanthin
is the complete opposite.
The complete opposite. It was the only one that preserved the membrane structure. It acted like that rivet we talked about. It held things together. And it reduced peroxidation by a whopping 41%. It didn't just sit there. It held the fort.
It's the structural reinforcement. I
Yeah.
love that. So we've established that this molecule acts like a structural rivet and a lightning rod for our cells. That's the physics. Now let's move to the biology. Section 2, the engine room.
The mitochondria.
The powerhouse of the cell. We all remember that phrase from high school biology.
It's burned into our brains.
But the Strady paper from 2019 makes it crystal clear that mitochondria are also the biggest source of danger in the cell.
It's a bit as a double-edged sword.
It is the fundamental paradox of aerobic life. To make energy, which is a molecule called ATP, our mitochondria have to burn oxygen. It's cellular respiration.
Right.
But that process, that burning, is messy. It's inefficient. It throws off sparks. Those sparks are the reactive oxygen species, or ROS, free radicals. So the power plant is also the source of the most pollution.
Precisely. And if you don't contain those sparks, if you don't have a good fire suppression system, you burn down the factory. That's mitochondrial dysfunction, and it's at the root of so much of aging.
And since astaxanthin targets the mitochondria specifically, as the name mitochondrial targeted antioxidant implies,
It gets right to the source. It prevents the depolarization of the mitochondrial membrane. Think of the mitochondria like a rechargeable battery. To work, it needs to hold a specific electrical charge across its membrane.
a membrane potential.
Exactly. If that charge drops, if it depolarizes, the battery dies. Can't produce energy anymore. Astaxanthin sits in that mitochondrial membrane and keeps the charge stable. It protects the double membrane system of the mitochondria, which boosts energy production efficiency.
So you get cleaner energy with less exhaust, less smoke, more power.
That's a perfect way to put it. And this has these incredible cascading effects throughout the entire body. Because if your engines are running clean and efficiently, everything works better.
Which brings us directly to metabolism. The 2019 review goes deep into metabolic syndrome and insulin. This is something that affects a huge portion of the population. We're talking about prediabetes, insulin resistance, the stuff that really plagues modern health.
A massive problem.
How does a pink pigment from algae help with that?
The mechanism is actually really interesting. So when you have high oxidative stress, too many sparks coming from your mitochondrial engines, it gums up the insulin signaling pathway.
What does that mean, gums up?
It means your cells effectively stop answering the door when insulin knocks. Insulin is the hormone that tells your cells to take sugar out of your blood.
And that's the literal definition of insulin resistance. The pancreas shouting, "Hey, muscle cell, take this sugar," and the muscle cell is just ignoring it.
Right. The door is locked. Astaxanthin seems to grease the hinges of that door. The paper details how it increases the translocation of something called GLUT4.
GLUT4. Okay, that sounds like a sci-fi robot. What is it?
Laughs. It kind of is. Think of GLUT4 as a tiny delivery truck for sugar that sits parked in a garage inside the cell.
Okay, a sugar truck.
Its job is to drive to the surface of the cell, open the garage door, and pick up the sugar from the blood, bringing it inside to be used for energy. But oxidative stress gives that truck a flat tire. It can't move. It's stuck in the garage.
So the sugar just stays in the blood, building up and causing damage.
Exactly. High blood sugar. Astaxanthin comes in and fixes the tire. It activates these signaling pathways. The technical names are IRS1 and PI3K ACT, which are basically just the traffic signals telling the truck, go, get to the surface.
So the end result is that the cell takes up sugar better, which lowers your blood sugar.
Correct. It improves insulin sensitivity at the most basic mechanical level, which is why in the animal models and the human trials mentioned in that review, they saw lowered triglycerides, increased HDL, which is the good cholesterol, and reduced blood pressure. It's helping to normalize the entire metabolic environment by fixing the machinery at the root.
That is just wildly cool. It's not just lowering sugar by magic, it's helping the mechanical transport system of the cell work again.
That's it. It's a mechanic, not a magician.
And speaking of machinery and metabolism, let's talk about exercise. Because there's a fascinating detail in the sources about something called fuel switching. This seems huge for athletes, or really anyone who exercises.
This is the holy grail for endurance athletes. Absolutely.
So what's happening?
Your body essentially has two main fuel tanks.
Yeah.
You've got glycogen, which is stored sugar, and you've got lipids, which is body fat.
Okay, sugar and fat.
Generally, your body prefers burning sugar first. It's easy, it's quick energy, it's like throwing kindling on a fire.
But if you're running a marathon or doing a long hike, you have a very limited supply of that sugar kindling. You want to save that for the end sprint. You want to burn the big, slow-burning logs, your body fat, which is a nearly unlimited fuel source for most of us.
Exactly. But switching over to burning fat efficiently is hard. It takes time. and the process itself can be disrupted. Astaxanthin appears to encourage the body to switch to burning fat earlier and more efficiently during exercise.
Oh.
It does this by protecting a very specific and very sensitive enzyme called CPTI,
TPTI, what is that?
carnitine palmitoyl transferase I. It's a mouthful.
It is.
But just think of CPI as the bouncer at the nightclub with mitochondria. Its job is to check the ID of fatty acids and let them into the club to be burned for energy.
So the fat wants to get into the mitochondrial club to be used as fuel.
Right. But this bouncer, this CPTI enzyme, is very, very sensitive to oxidative damage. If you're exercising hard, you're making a lot of free radicals, and those radicals come and attack the bouncer.
And the bouncer gets overwhelmed.
The bouncer stops working, he shuts the door to the club, and now you can't get any more fat in to be burned.
So you're forced to burn through your sugar kindling way too fast, and you run out.
And you hit the wall. That terrible feeling of bonking where you just have nothing left in the tank.
Yeah. But astaxanthin acts as the bodyguard for the bouncer.
That is the perfect analogy. It stands next to CPCI and neutralizes those free radicals before they can take out the bouncer. So the door stays open, the fat keeps flowing into the furnace,
Which spares your glycogen stores.
leading to a much longer time to exhaustion. You don't hit the wall as early, you can go farther faster.
That is incredible. It's literally optimizing your fuel efficiency. It's turning you into a hybrid vehicle.
It really is.
And there was one more muscle-related point in that 2019 paper that I found really surprising, especially for people who aren't elite athletes. It was about disuse atrophy.
Ah, yes, the immobilization study. This is crucial for anyone recovering from an injury or surgery, or for the elderly who might be more sedentary.
Yeah. I mean, basically, if you break your leg and it's in a cast, your muscle shrinks. It just withers away because you aren't using it. We've all seen this. You get the cast off and your calf is like the size of your wrist.
Right, that's atrophy. And it happens because when a muscle isn't being used, the body produces these enzymes called proteases that literally eat up the muscle tissue to recycle the protein. It's a very harsh use it or lose it mechanism.
But the study they cited showed that astaxanthin supplementation prevented this, or at least reduced it.
It showed a significant reduction in atrophy. It seemed to suppress those muscle-wasting proteases. So even though the limb wasn't moving, the muscle wasn't being eaten away as quickly.
It's like it puts a shield around the muscle tissue saying, do not eat. This is being preserved.
Precisely. It preserves the tissue during periods of high stress or inactivity. And for someone recovering from a major surgery, that could be a total game changer for their recovery time and quality of life.
Okay, so we've covered the cell membrane, the sandwich, and we've covered the muscles and metabolism, the engine room. Now I really want to move upstairs. Section 3. The aging brain and neurogenesis. This is all based on that 2023 paper by Medoro and his colleagues.
This is the real frontier of astaxanthin research, I think. This is where it gets incredibly exciting for health span and longevity.
Okay, so first things first. We have to establish that it can actually get there. Because the brain is a fortress, right? The blood-brain barrier, the BBB, keeps almost everything out to protect our most important organ.
And for very good reason. You do not want toxins, bacteria, or just random stuff from your lunch floating around in your neural networks.
But astaxanthin, because of that unique chemical structure we talked about, it's small, it's lipophilic, meaning fat-loving. It basically has a VIP pass. It can cross the blood-brain barrier.
Okay, so it's in the brain. Now, the paper talks extensively about adult neurogenesis.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I grew up being told that once you're an adult, that's it. You have the brain cells you have, and they just slowly die off until you die. It was a very depressing biology lesson.
It was the scientific dogma for a very long time, but we now know it's just not true.
It's not at all. There are specific, special neurogenic niches in the adult brain where new neurons are born throughout your entire life. Specifically, two main areas, the subventricular zone, or SVZ, and the dentate gyrus, or DG, of the hippocampus.
The hippocampus, that's the big one for memory and learning.
That's the one. So your brain can repair and remodel itself. But here's the problem. As we age, the pool of neural stem cells, the NSCs, in those areas starts to shrink. They stop dividing, they go dormant. The garden stops growing new plants.
A 2023 paper suggests astaxanthin can, wake them up?
It does more than just wake them up. It's to preserve their stemness.
Stemness, that's a great word. It sounds like a philosophical concept.
It is. In a biological sense, it refers to their potential, their ability to become new, healthy cells. The research shows that astaxanthin increases the expression of these specific stemness genes. Their names are like REX1, OCT4, SOX2, and NANOG.
They sound like the names of droids from Star Wars.
They kind of do.
Yeah.
But they act like master switches. They send a signal to a cell that says, hey, you are a stem cell. Stay young, stay flexible, maintain your potential, get ready to divide.
So it's not just making them divide, it's keeping the quality of the stem cell pool high. It's keeping the inventory stocked with good parts.
Yes. And this connects directly to a very famous gene called FOXO3.
The longevity gene, I've heard of this one. It pops up in almost every conversation about living to be 100.
It does. FOXO3 is highly associated with living a long, healthy life in many species, from tiny worms all the way up to humans. And astaxanthin activates FOXO3.
And what happens when FOXO3 is active in the brain?
It preserves that precious pool of neural stem cells. It prevents them from being depleted too early. It's essentially helping you bank your brain cells for the future so you have them when you need them later in life.
That is just, it's mind-blowing. So it's not just protecting the cells you already have, it's ensuring you have the capacity to make new ones down the line.
And it creates a safer, cleaner environment for those new cells to grow in. This brings us to another major player mentioned in the paper, NRF2.
NRF2. Okay, we see this acronym a lot in longevity circles. It's often called the master regulator of antioxidants. How does it fit in here?
Think of your cells as having their own internal fire department.
Okay.
That fire department is the antioxidant response system. But normally, the fire chief, that's NRF2, is tied up in his office by a very annoying bureaucrat protein called KEAP1.
KEAP1, the bureaucrat holding back the fire chief. I feel like we all know a KEAP1 in our lives.
We certainly do. KEAP1's job is to suppress NRF2. It actually tags it for destruction. It basically throws it in the trash can over and over.
So the fire department is always on standby but never gets deployed.
Exactly. But astaxanthin comes in and distracts KEAP1. It essentially blocks KEAP1. This allows the fire chief, NRF2, to break free, run out of the office, travel into the nucleus of the cell, and pull the master fire alarm.
And what happens when that alarm gets pulled?
The cell springs into action. It turns on a massive battery of its own antioxidant genes, things like HO1 and QO1. It floods the cell with its own powerful, internally made protective enzymes.
So it's not just astaxanthin acting as one antioxidant molecule.
Yeah, no, that's the point. It's way more powerful than that. It's turning on the body's entire internal machinery to fight stress. You aren't just bringing one bucket of water to the fire, you're turning on the entire building's sprinkler system.
So astaxanthin acts as the liberator of the fire chief.
That's a perfect description.
But there's another villain in the story of the aging brain, isn't there? It's not just oxidative stress, it's inflammation. Or, as the paper calls it, inflammaging, which is a terrifying word.
It's a great word, though, inflammaging. It's that chronic, smoldering, low-grade inflammation that just simmers in the background as we get older. And in the brain, this is largely driven by a set of immune cells called microglia.
Microglia, they're the dedicated immune cells of the brain, right?
Yeah. They are. And when you're young, they're the good guys. They act like diligent gardeners. They prune unused synapses. They clean up cellular debris. They keep things tidy.
As we age,
They get grumpy. They get hyperreactive. And they start spitting out all these inflammatory molecules called cytokines, like TNF-alpha and IL-1 beta.
so instead of gardening, they start spraying flamethrowers all over the place.
It's essentially, yes. They start attacking healthy tissue. It's like the immune system gets confused and starts causing a lot of friendly fire, damaging healthy neurons.
And astaxanthin calms them down.
It suppresses a pathway called NFKB. You can think of NFT as the master switch for inflammation. By turning that switch down, astaxanthin tells the grumpy microglia to just chill out. It stops the production of those inflammatory cytokines.
Okay, so let's put this all together for the brain. Astaxanthin helps grow new neurons by preserving stem cells via FOXO3.
Right.
It turns on the internal fire department via NRF2.
Yes.
And it shuts down chronic inflammation by suppressing NFT.
That is the trifecta of neuroprotection.
Yeah.
And the result, in the animal models at least, is improved performance in spatial learning tests, like the Morris Water Maze, and protection against what they call the photoaging of the brain. It just keeps the whole cognitive engine running smoother for longer.
It's a truly comprehensive defense strategy. Now, before we wrap up, we have to hit section 4, what I call the clinical grab bag. Because the KID review from 2011 lists some really diverse and practical benefits that we shouldn't just gloss over. These are things that affect people's daily lives right now.
It really shows how versatile this molecule is. When you fix something as fundamental as the cell membrane, you fix a lot of downstream problems. It's foundational.
Let's start with vision, because in our digital world, computer eye is a real thing. I mean, I feel it right now staring at the screen. My eyes feel gritty, they feel tired, they're slow to focus.
It is a massive problem. The clinical term is VDT, visual display terminal syndrome. Eye strain, fatigue, blurring, headaches. There were a number of Japanese studies cited in the review that looked specifically at office workers staring at screens all day.
The perfect subjects. And what did they find?
They found that astaxanthin supplementation improved visual acuity and significantly reduced eye strain and fatigue.
How does it do that?
The mechanism is likely twofold. One is improved blood flow to the tiny capillaries in the retina, getting more oxygen and nutrients to the back of the eye. But also, interestingly, it showed an improvement in accommodation.
Accommodation.
Yeah.
That's the ability of the eye to change focus, right? Like the lens changing shape to look at something near versus something far.
Exactly. The ciliary muscles in your eye control the shape of the lens. And just like any muscle, they get tired if you hold them in one position for too long, like staring at a monitor that's 24 inches from your face.
So they get locked up.
Astaxanthin seems to improve the endurance and recovery of those tiny muscles, so your eyes don't get as tired or as stuck when you're switching focus from your screen to the wall and back.
That's immediately useful. It's basically endurance training for your eyeballs.
In a way, yes.
Now, what about skin? I've heard astaxanthin referred to as an internal sunscreen. Is there any truth to that?
That goes right back to the algae. Remember, the algae makes it to protect itself from intense UV radiation. And it turns out it does something similar for us.
So how does that work?
UV light from the sun is one of the primary drivers of skin aging. It creates free radicals that break down collagen. Collagen is the protein that gives your skin its structure and firmness. When it breaks down, you get wrinkles and sagging.
Astaxanthin protects the collagen.
It protects the entire collagen matrix in the skin. The study showed measurable improvements in skin elasticity, a reduction in the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, and better skin moisture content. It prevents the degradation of what's called the extracellular matrix.
So it's not a replacement for topical sunscreen, I assume?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Don't go sit in the sun for 4 hours without protection.
Yeah.
But it raises your baseline defense against photoaging from the inside out.
Okay, now for the statistic that really made me do a double take when I was reading, male fertility. This is one where the numbers were just, wow.
This is a surprising one for many people, but the data from that one trial was very, very strong.
So the review detailed a double-blind, randomized controlled trial, the gold standard, and it was on men from infertile couples. Can you walk us through those numbers again? They were staggering.
They were dramatic. In the placebo group, the group that got the sugar pill, the pregnancy rate was 10.5% over the course of the study.
Okay, 10.5%.
In the astaxanthin group, the pregnancy rate was 54.5%.
That is a 5-fold increase. That's insane. Why? How does a pigment from algae do that?
It comes right back down to membranes and oxidative stress. Sperm cells are very small and very vulnerable. Their membranes are packed with these delicate fats called polyunsaturated fatty acids.
Yep.
That makes them incredibly susceptible to oxidation, to going rancid. If the sperm membrane oxidizes, the sperm loses motility. It can't swim straight, or it can't swim fast enough. It runs out of energy and dies before it reaches the egg.
So astaxanthin protects the sperm cell membrane, just like it protects a skin cell or a mitochondrial membrane.
Exactly. It gets into that membrane and acts as a shield. The study found it increased sperm linear velocity and reduced the amount of ROS, or free radicals, that the sperm were generating. It essentially gave the sperm a better engine and a stronger hull for their journey.
Wow. It improved their swim speed and survival rate.
That's a good way to put it.
Amazing. And finally, just briefly, gastric health. They mentioned H. pylori.
Right. H. pylori is the bacteria that's famous for causing stomach ulcers. Now, there's an important caveat here. Astaxanthin did not cure the infection. It didn't kill the bacteria directly.
Okay, so it's not an antibiotic.
No. But in patients who were infected, it significantly reduced their acid reflux symptoms.
Because it lowered the inflammation and oxidative stress caused by the bacteria?
Precisely. The bacteria creates a very hostile inflammatory environment in the stomach. Astaxanthin just managed the oxidative stress that the bacteria was creating, which reduced the pain and discomfort for the patients. It treated the fire caused by the infection, even if it couldn't remove the source.
So let's try to tie this all together. We've gone from the molecular structure, the lightning rod, to the muscles and metabolism, to the brain and neurogenesis, and now to the eyes, skin, and even fertility. It really does feel like astaxanthin is a bit of a Swiss Army knife for cellular health.
That's the perfect metaphor for it. It's not a magic bullet that does one thing. It's a modulator. It works upstream. It changes how genes express like activating FOXO3 and NRF2. It changes how membranes function physically. It changes how cells make and use energy. It reinforces the basic systems of life.
So when you look at all this, what is the big takeaway for the listener? Who is this for? Is it for everyone?
Well, if you look at the breadth of the data, the argument is pretty compelling for a lot of different people. If you're an athlete looking for an edge in endurance and faster recovery, it's highly relevant.
Okay.
If you're someone in midlife worried about cognitive decline or brain aging, the neurogenesis and anti-inflammatory data is very compelling. If you're an office worker staring at a screen all day, the data on eye health is hard to ignore.
It really seems like a multifaceted defense strategy against the stresses of modern life.
It really is. I mean, what is modern life? It's a high oxidative stress environment. You've got processed foods, chronic psychological stress, pollution, blue light from screens, lack of sleep. All of these things generate free radicals. Astaxanthin is a way to armor your cells against that specific modern environment.
I want to leave our listeners with a final thought, something a little provocative to chew on. The research, especially stuff on metabolism, suggests that astaxanthin mimics some of the beneficial effects of things like caloric restriction or exercise mimetics. It turns on AMPK, it helps burn fat, it activates these deep longevity genes.
That's true. It seems to trigger some of those deep survival pathways without the actual stress of starvation or intense exercise. It tricks the body into becoming more efficient and resilient.
And I keep coming back to the salmon. Nature put this molecule in salmon for a very specific, very demanding reason. Think about their life cycle.
That's incredible.
They have to swim hundreds of miles upstream against raging currents, literally jumping up waterfalls, all to get back to where they were born to reproduce. It is the ultimate endurance test. It is the ultimate stress test on a biological system.
And without astaxanthin protecting their cells, they would never make it. They would literally burn out physically before they reach the spawning grounds. Their muscles would fail from the immense oxidative stress.
Exactly. So here's the thought. If evolution selected this specific molecule to help biology overcome impossible odds and extreme physical stress, what does it say about our own biological potential that we can now access it too?
That is a profound question. It suggests that we might have a chemical tool to help us swim upstream against our own raging currents, whether that's the current of aging or chronic disease or just the overwhelming stress of the modern world.
I love that. Well, next time you see a flamingo or a beautiful piece of wild salmon, maybe look at that pink color a little differently. It's not just a color, it's a shield.
Survival tool.
Thanks for diving in on us today.
My pleasure. It was a fascinating topic.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.